Hey guys, this is a video about buying shares. We're moving on from maths for small business, even though you're still doing the DI, and we're moving on to the next topic, shares. This is because the small business topic is quite short. So buying shares are another way of investing money to grow it. It's important to understand that you don't just pay for the shares you buy. The shares are actually bought and sold by stockbrokers, and they charge a fee that we call brokerage. And because also the stockbroker has provided us a service by carrying out that transaction, the government gets a cut through GST on the brokerage only. So this is from the book as well. As long as you remember that when you're buying shares, what you are paying overall is the consideration, which is the total value of the shares, number of shares times by the price, plus, so it's important plus because when it's selling it's a little different, plus the brokerage fee, which is usually a percentage of the consideration. Sometimes it's actually a flat fee, the question will always tell you, and a GST, which is 10% on the brokerage. So there are three elements to a buying shares question. There's three basic calculations. You add them all up, and then you have the total cost of buying those shares. So we have an example here. So what is the cost of buying 1,200 Telstra shares at $5.20 each with a brokerage with a brokerage at 2% or a minimum of $70? So here we have an example where it could be a straight up brokerage fee instead of being just a percentage. So the consideration we said was the number of shares, 1,200, times by the share price, $5.20, and that is going to be 6,240 consideration. And then the brokerage, it's either going to be 2% or a minimum of $70. So if it exceeds $70, the 2%, then it's going to be whatever that 2% is. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be more than $70 if we work out 2%. So let's try that out. 0.02 times by the consideration. The brokerage is calculated on the consideration, 62.40. Okay, I might even draw an arrow over there to consideration. So it's times by 0.02, and you get $124.80. So it will be more than the minimum of $70. So you're going to go with the 2% of the brokerage, which is $124.80. And then GST, which is 10% or 0.1 times by $124.80. And that is going to be $12.48. So overall, because you are buying these, you're paying for the shares themselves, the number of shares and the cost of them, so that's known as a consideration. You're paying for the brokerage, you're paying for the GST. On top of that, you add these all together, and you should come up with 6240 plus 124.8 plus 12.48, and you should get a total of $6,377.28. So hopefully that makes it clear that when you're buying shares, it's not just the price of the shares themselves that you have to consider. You have to consider the brokerage and the GST on top of that, and that can be quite an important part of the transaction, and it might even decide whether you make money or lose money at the end of the day. So that is how you do buying shares, and I'll see you on the next video.